Have you ever stopped to consider that everything you've been taught about the birth of Jesus might be a carefully constructed lie? What if I told you that the nativity scene, the three wise men, and even the Star of Bethlehem conceal a much deeper and more shocking truth? Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, revealed secrets before his death that change everything. Secrets they never told you, until now. If you believe there's more to life than what you've been taught, this video is for you. Don't skip a thing. Every minute brings a new revelation. The truth is about to be unearthed, and perhaps for the first time, you'll discover the true purpose of Jesus' birth. And the reason you're here now is no coincidence. The traditional story of Jesus' birth, with its nativity scene and pastoral simplicity, is deeply moving. But according to Edgar Cayce, it was carefully crafted to conceal a much greater truth. Ancient documents, apocryphal accounts, and oral traditions were rejected by authorities who decided what the world should know. Jesus' birth was not just a historical event, but a cosmic one, carefully orchestrated by higher spiritual intelligences. According to Cayce, Jesus' arrival on Earth was part of a spiritual plan devised millennia ago. His arrival was announced in various ancient cultures and religions, long before Christianity existed. The narrative we were taught served to make the message accessible, but at the same time limited the true grandeur of this moment. Behind the curtains of institutional religion lies the presence of a consciousness that came to transform the world on many levels. The birth of Jesus represented a dimensional shift. His highly evolved spirit required specific conditions to incarnate in a human body without losing its higher vibration. Cayce mentions that spiritual beings energetically prepared the physical space, the vibrational field, and even the local elements for this reception. Nothing was random. Nothing was ordinary. The truth, according to Cayce, lies in sources not recognized by the official Gospels. Essene writings, Gnostic manuscripts, and records of ancient wisdom reveal hidden nuances of Jesus' birth. All of this was systematically excluded from traditional teachings, and this was no accident. There was fear that the liberating power of this truth would awaken dormant consciences. But now, with humanity's advancing spiritual awakening, many of these truths are coming to light, and the mission to reclaim Jesus' true origin is a calling for those who wish to break with historical lies. Jesus' birth was no mere event. It was an intervention of light on a shadowed planet, and Cayce knew this. Before we move on, we want to feel the power of your presence. Comment below. From which city, state, or country are you watching us? Let's map this current of light and show how far our message is reaching. Write in the comments, and let's expand this energy together. The world we know is based on carefully curated myths, but truth pulses in the hearts of those who dare to question it. This is the first step on a profound journey, seeing beyond the story we've been told. Long before the birth of Jesus, Mary was already chosen in the higher realms. Edgar Cayce reveals that her soul underwent several incarnations of purification and preparation. She was not just a pious young woman, but an initiate of the Essene mysteries, capable of understanding the spiritual dimensions surrounding her mission. The virginity attributed to her has less to do with the body and more to do with the spirit. Mary was part of a secret spiritual lineage that knew the cosmic laws of incarnation. She was not chosen at random, but for her ability to maintain a high vibration throughout her pregnancy. According to Cayce, this was essential for the Christ spirit to remain anchored in the physical plane. Her every breath was part of a sacred ritual. The process of conception was a spiritual phenomenon, more than a biological one. Cayce speaks of a fusion between celestial forces and the subtle energies of Mary's body, an event that transcends human logic. What happened there cannot be explained by science or traditional theology. It was divine alchemy in its purest form. Mary also received instructions in dreams and visions long before any angel appeared. These contacts were frequent and guided by higher consciousnesses. She knew from the beginning that she was giving birth not just to a man, but to an avatar. At every step, she was guided and protected by a network of light invisible to the world. Despite her monumental role, history has reduced Mary to a passive and silent figure. Cayce, however, reclaims her spiritual greatness. He portrays a woman of faith, yes, but also of profound knowledge. Someone who knew what she carried in her womb and accepted with love and courage the weight of that destiny. This new vision of Mary isn't an offense to faith. It's a liberation, because understanding who she truly was allows us to honor her mission more authentically, and most importantly, it opens our eyes to the true miracle behind Jesus' birth. The star that guided the Magi to Jesus' birthplace has always been shrouded in mystery. Many interpret it as a comet, others as a planetary alignment. But Cayce offers an even more striking perspective. The phenomenon seen in the heavens was a manifestation of a higher consciousness, a kind of interdimensional spiritual vehicle. It wasn't just light, it was intelligence. According to their readings, the star possessed conscious direction, as if it knew exactly where it needed to be and what it needed to do. This is not a characteristic of ordinary celestial bodies. The glow in the sky announced not just a birth, but an arrival timed with cosmic precision. It was a sign for the initiated, not just a spectacle for shepherds. Cayce mentioned that this manifestation was connected to more spiritually advanced civilizations, which monitored the earthly plane and sent this signal as part of the process of welcoming the Christ Spirit. It was like a vibrational key that activated energetic portals on Earth, a point of contact between heaven and the physical world. This star not only guided the Magi but served as a marker for all beings vibrating with the frequency of Jesus' mission. It was visible only to those prepared to see it. This would explain why not all historical accounts mention this event. It was not visible to the ordinary eye. It was perceived by the awakened spirit. Thus, the Star of Bethlehem becomes much more than a decorative Christmas detail. It represents the presence of cosmic intelligences aligned with the divine plan. For Cayce, this reinforces that the birth of Jesus was not a planetary coincidence, but an event orchestrated with millennia-old precision. The star continues to shine in humanity's unconscious. It calls us to look upward, but also inward, because perhaps the true path to Jesus begins when we stop looking only outward and begin to recognize the spiritual signs that have always been there. The three wise men from the east were not mere curious travelers. According to Cayce, they were priests initiated into ancient traditions that foresaw the coming of a great being of light. Their knowledge came from Egypt, Chaldea, and even Atlantis, and their journey to the birthplace was, in fact, a sacred ritual of cosmic confirmation. Each gift offered had profound symbolism. The gold represented spiritual royalty, the frankincense the purity of the soul, and the myrrh the preparation for the future sacrifice. They knew they were before an entity that would live among men but did not belong to this world. Therefore, their reverence was silent, but full of hidden meaning. According to Cayce, the magicians followed not only the star, but also astrological charts preserved by generations of sages. They knew this was a programmed incarnation, predicted in various esoteric traditions. They came not only to acknowledge the birth, they came to activate, with their presence, a multidimensional prophecy. The ceremony was discreet, away from the gaze of the Roman authorities and local clergy. It was a moment reserved for those who understood what was happening. Cayce emphasizes that this was not just a tribute to the baby Jesus, but an act of energetic connection, sealing his earthly mission with blessings from the higher orders. Interestingly, after their visit, the Magi disappeared from the scriptures. Cayce explains that they returned to their temples carrying with them important spiritual codes that would be used to prepare future generations. They were the first to recognize the light shining in that newborn, and they did so with the wisdom of those who had been waiting for him for a long time. Their presence reminds us that there is a spiritual brotherhood working silently behind visible history, and the birth of Jesus was one of those moments where worlds met, where ancient sages recognized that light had finally returned to earth. The image of a stable, with animals around it and straw strewn about, has captivated hearts for centuries. But Cayce says this version is merely a symbol, not a literal fact. According to his revelations, Jesus was born in a sacred cave used by the Essenes for spiritual ceremonies. It was a space energetically prepared to receive a soul of extremely high frequency. This cave was protected and kept secret, accessible only to initiates. There, purification rituals were performed to anchor higher energies and facilitate spiritual manifestations. Jesus could not be born just anywhere. The vibration of the environment needed to be in total harmony with the mission he would bring to the world. Cayce reveals that this space contained ancient symbols, crystals, and was aligned with specific constellations. The place functioned as a kind of vibrational portal. There, Mary was assisted by Essene women, prepared for the sacred moment. The birth was a silent event, hidden from the world but felt by spiritual forces around the earth. The stable version was a way to translate a mystical reality into something comprehensible to the masses. Animals and simplicity symbolize humility, yes, but the real scene was closer to a temple than a corral. This shift in perspective doesn't diminish the beauty of the birth, it reveals its depth. According to Cayce, many details were omitted or adapted over the centuries to make the narrative more palatable and accessible. However, there are apocryphal records and archaeological remains that support the existence of these caves used by the Essenes, near Bethlehem. Jesus' birth, therefore, was part of a plan carefully aligned with the unseen. Understanding this truth brings us closer to the spiritual reality of Christ. The place where he was born was not random. It was an earthly womb prepared by devoted souls. It was the womb of the world receiving the most enlightened spirit to ever walk this planet. And that changes everything. In most narratives, Joseph is portrayed as a simple, perhaps surprised man, accepting the mission of caring for God's son. But Cayce reveals a different version. Joseph was an initiate, a connoisseur of spiritual mysteries, prepared by a lineage of wisdom to accompany Jesus' incarnation. He was not a spectator, he was a spiritual guardian. From a young age, Joseph was trained in occult schools, where he learned about the cycles of the soul, reincarnation, and the mission of avatars. When he was chosen to be Mary's husband, he already understood the spiritual depth of their union. He was not just a husband, he was a protector of the forces that would manifest through her son. Cayce recounts that Joseph had visions and dreams long before his birth, in which beings of light revealed the divine plan. He accepted the mission with humility, but with full awareness of what was to come. His every gesture was carefully aligned with the purpose of protecting not only Mary and Jesus, but the very vibrational balance around them. Despite this, Joseph remained silent. His wisdom was expressed in actions, not words. He knew the moment required discretion. The world was not ready to comprehend the enormity of what was happening. His protection was not just physical, but energetic, sustaining the spiritual frequency necessary for Jesus to grow in safety. History has erased Joseph's role, as it has so many other details. But Cayce recaptures his importance. He was a fundamental part of the plan. His love, his presence, his quiet strength were the foundation on which Jesus was prepared in his early years, a true pillar of light in the shadows of history. Recovering Joseph's image as a hidden master is a spiritual reparation. He was the guardian of one of Earth's greatest miracles, and like so many guardians, he chose to serve in silence, letting the light shine through the sun he helped protect with all his heart. Edgar Cayce revealed that Jesus did not spontaneously emerge onto the human scene. His soul was shaped over many lifetimes, in different times and cultures. Before incarnating as Jesus, he underwent pivotal experiences like Enoch, Melchizedek, Joseph of Egypt, and other enlightened beings. Each existence served to prepare his spirit for the great mission of redemption and awakening. Jesus' preparation began long before Bethlehem. He was trained by the laws of the universe, experiencing human suffering and experiencing love on profound levels. His spiritual journey was marked by renunciation, compassion, and mastery over his emotions, essential elements for him to fully support the Christic mission. According to Cayce, in his last incarnation before Jesus, this soul already demonstrated signs of Christ consciousness. He was not just righteous, he was someone with direct access to the higher spheres. His coming as Jesus was the culmination of a millennia-long journey, not an isolated miracle. Everything was meticulously prepared behind the scenes of eternity. Even in Mary's womb, Jesus was already influenced by higher spiritual forces. Cayce explains that entities of light approached to support the formation of his physical body, ensuring it was suitable for the spirit that would inhabit it. Each day of the pregnancy, the boy was molded with the help of higher vibrations. After birth, his spiritual education was closely monitored by Essenes and Eastern masters who knew who he was. His awakening was gradual, but steady. From an early age, Jesus demonstrated signs of wisdom beyond his years, and his masters recognized that they were witnessing a consciousness far beyond human. Thus, when we speak of Jesus' birth, we cannot ignore this cosmic preparation. He did not come from nothing. He was prepared with love, pain, light, and sacrifice. Knowing this completely changes the way we view him. Not as an isolated divine being, but as someone who walked the path of evolution like all of us. only to the end. Before his death, Edgar Cayce warned against the distortion of spiritual truths, and among them, the very birth of Jesus. He asserted that many of the stories we know today have been altered over time, whether out of ignorance, political expediency, or to maintain control of the masses. Jesus' birth has become a decoration, when it should be a revelation. Cayce warned that continuing to believe in incomplete or distorted versions of the Christ story denies the human spirit its true connection with the divine. He didn't deny the beauty of traditions, but he emphasized that many of them were shadows of a greater truth, hidden behind dogma. The light of Jesus was wrapped in gift wrapping, but the original content remains hidden. The North American medium said that Jesus' true power lay not only in his death or resurrection, but also pulsated in the mystery of his birth, and that understanding this was fundamental to awakening the Christ consciousness within every human being. As long as we cling to childish versions of the story, we distance ourselves from true spiritual teaching. His warning was clear. It's time to look at Jesus with spiritual eyes, not just religious ones. Blind faith must give way to conscious seeking. Cayce didn't want to destroy beliefs, but to open paths to a deeper faith based on inner experiences, not just external words. Jesus didn't come to found a religion. He came to awaken the soul. Today, his warning resonates more strongly than ever. In a world increasingly fragmented and devoid of meaning, understanding the true essence of Jesus' birth can be the point of reconnection between the human and the divine. Cayce invites us to question, not out of rebellion but out of love for truth. This final warning is not an attack on faith, it is a call to rise. It's time to open your heart and realize that Jesus has always been beyond the limits of written history. The true birth that matters is the one he can accomplish within you, if you allow the truth to enter. What Cayce revealed changes everything we think we know about the birth of Jesus. These forgotten or hidden truths were not created to shock but to awaken. Perhaps it's time to set aside limited versions and seek the spiritual essence behind the symbol. Jesus didn't come to confirm traditions, he came to transform them. And this transformation begins within each of us, the moment we choose to see with the eyes of the soul. And now I ask you, are you ready to let go of the story you've been told and discover the truth that will set your spirit free? If this journey touched you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more revelations like this. Share this video with someone you know who is searching for answers. Together we can break through the veil of illusion and walk toward the light of knowledge. Jesus wasn't just born in Bethlehem, he can be reborn in you.